Hey guys, welcome back to the second video. This video is going to be more or less around the UI itself. So let me go into the UI, talk about what this is going to be involved with. Alright, so we are currently in Sprint 4. Alright, cool. So we have some tasks on here. Let's see here. Alright, so the first video was around, so just what I didn't mention, first video is around populating data. You know, there might be some cleansing tasks in there, so you know, you might want to add we'll have to add a separate task for cleansing. Fine, but once these are completed, then these steps can be completed. So that's a dependency of those steps. If we can knock these out and these out by, say, the start of next week, like before Monday, that would be sensational. That would get us over the hump. Then we can start building out the API, and we can start building out these other tables and so forth. So what I'm going to talk about, and I knocked this one out. These were already completed. His is something else. And I made some changes to the existing environment that was out there. So I don't have the link to the existing environment. I'm trying to think what it is off the top of my head. Let me grab it. 1 second here. So that I can tell you what I mean. Oh, I think that's it right there. Okay, so this is the current environment. Let me log out. So this is the URL one. So if I go into shipments, that's what it looks like today. So what I did is I changed this up, because if we go to page source, this is using, okay, so this is using, we have the mockup for ship data. This is using table, okay. It's using the class add order, okay. And I think maybe that was already in there, so let me see, add order. Oops. It wasn't. Anyways, so I changed it up a little bit for that page and kind of moved stuff around. So if I run this locally, let me run this locally. I'm already logged in. All right, I'm not logged in. So let's do this. Let's copy this. Run it. All right, what the hell is happening? All right. All right. Anyway, so it looks a little bit different, and I'll talk about what this is here in a second. So what I was able to do is I'm going to zoom in here, and this is just mock-up data. It's just to see how it works. So as you can see, you can notice that the buttons are a little bit more better aligned. They're over to the left. Larger buttons equals good stuff. We still have our log out button over here. We have our search order. So there's no logic added to this right now. That'll be later. But you know, hypothetically, if they have an order number 543, whatever, they would click this. Here's what would happen. They click on the button. It'll fetch an API call. It'll call one of our queries that we have in place. It'll be select all from this table where order ID equals 54345. And then what will happen is it'll return us data. That data will be returned into an array, and then we'll drop that value right here, and it'll just update the page. So that's conventionally how that'll work. Filter order, we'll want to change this around the filter year. So maybe they want to do 2022. They click filter order. So what would happen there? Same thing, a different query and a different word class. So we'll say where year equals 2022, or for year is in 2022, whatever. Same thing. So that will pull back data, and that puts that information on here. So when thinking about mapping out tables on what queries that you need in place, right there I named 3 queries. The first query is to pull everything, a select all from table where or no where clause. Just select field names from table, boom, that's it. If there's 1,000 rows, there's 1,000 rows. No big deal. That provides all the information. That's why we have pagination. I'll show how this works. We just did some pagination. I'll show you how we take it out and so forth. That allows all the orders. So if you see here, we're doing it, we did a limit of, I think, 10 rows. Yeah, 10 rows per page. That way it doesn't grab a bunch of rendering issues. But if there's 1,000, like for example, the customer's screen, there's 1,000 rows of data at least. And if we do 10, there's going to be 100 pagination pages. So we might want to dwell it down to 20 or something like that, maybe even 50. But we'll figure that out to reduce the amount. And I'm not even sure how that'll work, but wanted to play with that. But so yeah, so this is just mocked up data for now. I'll show how it works, how I developed it, and so forth. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use some, we're going to develop this on our own. But when I looked at it and I started thinking about it, I know this is something that Ethan was working on. I was like, you know what, we can make this easier. Let's find something that could do it for us, and we could just embed it in our software. So that is when I went to Grid.js. So Grid.js is a free third-party open source tool. I was able to do some of the documentation. Ethan helped last night with the pagination. So what I did here is I went into install. Sorry. All right, under usage install. And what I did, since we're not using npm, I use this right here, which is the CSS. So when I come over to shipment page, I put CSS somewhere on this page. I'll put the top somewhere probably. All right, yeah, right here. So I added that style there. The other thing that it wanted me to do was add the JavaScript, which is the library. So this is an extension of that. So I added that library, which is somewhere down here. Oh, there it is. No, that's not it. It's down here. So I added the library. So one of the things that we probably will want to do is download this and save this locally and run it, save it locally in our code versus using the URL. We can use it for now. That way, if they make changes, it won't break our stuff. We'll have what was there. All right, so those are two things we added. The other thing is I created a new style sheet called ship.mu CSS. And this right here has a container. So I'm using CSS, so instead of using tables and rows and stuff like that, it allows me to position my screen where I want to position it directly. You notice I have top left 2. The reason I use top left 2 is because I already have a top left in a different CSS, and I wanted to, you know, come up with a different name. Dot top left in CSS means that it moves it to the top left of the page. Now you have to position where it's at, and this is based off of here, like left and top. So you have to make these changes on coordinates. So think of it as X and Y coordinates. You have to modify these coordinates, and it's just like modify it, save it, run it, and so forth, and see until it works. And then we have the image here, which we don't even have an image, but if we needed to add one, fine. So that's all I did was create this code right here. And then when I go back to shipment page, I created a, so right here is the piece I put. So I changed what was out there before, which if we go out to this, oh, not that one. One of the many pages I just had out there up and running somewhere. All right, right here. Nope. Nope. Yeah, right here. This one. So you see how I changed it. So we can do a comparison of what was there and how we modified it. So you see the index.js, top right still there. That's there. What we did is we wiped that out there. So you see where we have top right, div tag, boom, boom, right here. We have the user ID still. We kept that there. But what we did is we put this div class, and we call it container, because what container reads this style from here. So container grabs it, grabs this information and relates to that and says, hey, you know what, I'm gonna use that information. And then this right here, we grab top left, so it grabs the buttons and puts them over in the top left. It uses that, so that's how we're able to relate to the CSS. We're saying, hey, we're creating this div tag, and within this div tag, we're creating a container basically around these objects, which is the buttons and the text boxes. So what it does is, all right, where the heck is my screen at, guys? Oh, this is the problem. Too many screens. I'm gonna take it off for a second. So, yeah, so it creates a tag around here, if I could, and so it puts it up to the top left. And then the wrapper, so the wrapper right here, this wrapper, you could call it anything. We called it div wrapper. And what it does is, that is actually where the code goes. So this code right here is actually tied into that wrapper ID. So I'll show where it's coming from. And that's how it displays it on the screen. So you don't see the code there, you're like, okay, I don't know where it's at. So what I did is I created a gribview.js in our JS folder. And I added a bunch of this data here for now to make it, make it seem simplistic. But we created a grid, and it uses the grid.js code. And we create columns that we want to put in here. This will be hard coded, no matter what. We'll have to hard code this. And then the data itself, in this example, we hard code it. So for example, we hard code it so it provides the values there. And I'll show you guys a couple things there in a minute. It hard codes the values. Now, how we're going to have it is we're going to have a call right here. So we'll have a call to fetch data from the API. And then we'll have a call that gets the data from the API. And what will happen is that value will be something, whatever that value is, and it'll get it, it'll return it basically. It'll be a return statement. And what will happen is we'll have an object in here, and this will grab that object and display it on the screen. That's how that's going to work. Now, what we did here is we added this pagination piece. I'm going to cut it out for a second. It should automatically save. All right, so thanks to, all right, so you see here we have a lot of rows on here, and without the pagination, what will happen from a performance part, this page will render forever if they have a lot of data. Will they be able to see it? Yeah, but that's not the right way of doing things. So go back there, saves it. Now we have our pagination. Now you see here we set the limit to 10, so we could change that to 5 right now. And as soon as you change it to 5, look, now we have more pagination pages, 4, and so forth, and then we go to the 5th page. But I think 10 is fine for now, for what we're doing. And then it changes the code, and boom, we have the different pages. So this page is almost done. We could use this up as mock data, but we'll probably want to change it around to what it's supposed to be. And I'll change that and put some mock data in there for the time being. I'll take that task on. And then this is done right here. So this page is pretty much all completed. The only thing that we have to do is, we have to write an API and put an API call in here and test that. The second thing is we'll have to be able to run our queries and make sure that we're able to search and filter, and that's it. So we have 3 queries on this page. There's not going to be any posts, so we're not going to be adding any new data here. Now add order, that'll take us to another page to add order. Not a big deal, but on this page, we're just going to have 3 select statements. 2 of them with where clauses, 1 without a where clause, which grabs everything based off of all the columns. And yeah, it looks pretty good though, for the most part. Hopefully, I was gonna say if anyone has any questions, let me know. So that's that page. I know that Tyler number 2 was working on the other page, which we need a home button here. I'm thinking. Now I think about it, we have all this add order, so we're going to need to add a home button somewhere up here as well, because we can't really get back to our home without doing this. So customer order, and oh my god, Tyler 1 was working on this. He made some changes, so we'll have to I'll have to check that out when I have a chance. Today's a crazy day, like every day is crazy for me. And then we could apply that, so we'll have that working. We have the shipment page working. Now we have to create a shipment detail page and so forth. So it's a work in progress, but we'll do what we could do. But I really think that this sprint is an important sprint. This is where I want us to see. I think we've had enough time to really concentrate and figure stuff out. It's time for us to actually get in the gear and kick some ass and get this stuff done. So I'm really relying on you guys to populate these tables. Use me for help, but I'm looking for you guys to master that, and then we can start working on creating the products for API. So we have some unassigned. So we have some values here. I know that we have some people who are not adding information. So we need those people to step up and put their name on a ticket and start working on some stuff. So you know who you are. I'm not going to broadcast your name. So let's get some work done. Let's knock this stuff out and get it over with, and then we'll be done. So all right. So that's what I have. I have to upload my code yet. I haven't did it yet. I will work on that sometime today. I'll check all this code in. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. And if you have questions, you know where I'm at.